Good morning, everyone. We'd like to welcome everyone to Mishna in the morning. This morning's learning is being dedicated in memory of Leah Bas Feivel, Tzivia Bas Mordechai, Avram ben David Slavin, Shlomo ben Yisrael Morris, Eliezer ben Shmuel Teret, Eliezer Shalom ben Avram Shmuel Beres, Sipora Fegela Bas Reuven Baruch, Shalom ben Eli Ali, Bena Bas Feivel, Bracha Bas Yaakov David Goldstein, Fruma Bas Mordechai Leib, Shabsai ben Tzvi Goldwater. We wish their respective families and family members long life and only simchas in the years ahead. So another night of violence, sadly, in New York and so many other places. And of course, our thoughts and prayers that there should be peace restored to that country. So today we want to move on from Shimon HaTzadik of yesterday, where we discussed about the fact of his epic encounter with Alexander the Great and how the fact that all Jewish boys in that particular year became named Alexander after Alexander the Great, and so it became an accepted Jewish name. Well, we move on to the next in line, which is Antigonus Ish Socho. So Antigonus is a Greek name, so we can see the influence, and he received Kibel Mishimon HaTzadik. So he's the next in the unbroken chain of our transmission. And Hua Ya'imeh, he used to say as follows, and this is perhaps one of the most fundamental concepts that we are going to discuss in the next few weeks. So let us understand it today. Al Tiyuka Avodim Hamisham Rabba Manas Lekawel Pras. Why do we serve God? Why do we practice our faith? Why do we do mitzvot? So he says that a person shouldn't do it with the belief and the mindset that I'm doing it amanas lekabel pras, in order that I should receive a reward. That's not the way you should do it. But one should serve the Almighty as one serves one's master, which is without expecting or doing it with the expectation of receiving a reward. That is point number one in the Mishnah. Number two, and we'll come back to it, is that the fear of heaven should be upon you. Now let's try and understand point one, because I think so often we have completely the wrong end of the stick and the wrong end of the spectrum when it comes to our understanding of mitzvot, commandments, do's and don'ts, and the way we are meant to approach Judaism. So I'm going to, in the words of the great Lord Denning, go off on a frolic of my own, and then hopefully after this we will have a deeper understanding and philosophy behind what we are trying to achieve and accomplish in this world, and what is the way that we should be serving the Almighty. So let me tell you what it is not, and the way it is popularly misconceived, and that is as follows. If we were to imagine in days gone by and yesteryear when we could crowd together, so you'll recall that there used to be things called fun fairs, and people would go to a fun fair, and you would go around all the various stalls, and at each stall there'd be some type of challenge. You'd have to knock the coconut off, right? And then you could hook the ducks, whatever it is. And you would get usually either a prize or you would get a token. At the end of it, having gone around the whole day and gathered up all these various tokens, you then go and you cash in for a big prize. That is the misconception that so many in our faith have when it comes to practicing their faith in Judaism, which is why we have sometimes the results that we have. And in other words, people believe, right, I've got to earn my place in the world to come. God has given me these commandments, and therefore it's like going through a fun fair. I'll do this mitzvah, I'll give some charity, I'll keep Shabbat, and if I tick all these boxes, right, the more boxes that I tick, then the more points I get. I'll add it up at the end of my life, and then God gives me my reward for all my hard-earned work. So basically, the way that we would see it is that the reason why and the motive and intention when I am serving God in this world is why? Almanas lekabel pras, in order that I should receive my reward. Okay, that is not. That is certainly not. Don't leave yet. That is not the way that we should be serving God. Quite the opposite. The idea is that we are, if we were to imagine the following: God put us in this world, and this continues with yesterday, and we, rather than going around a fun fair, the way we should understand it is as follows. Let me give you an analogy. I'm sitting on a chair at the moment, right? I'm sure you're all sitting comfortably. Now, imagine that chair, right, that you are sitting on, you work very hard. Well, let's take the first scenario. If you were given it as a present, would you appreciate it? Would you enjoy sitting on it? Yes, you would. You'd enjoy it and appreciate it to a degree. But you would enjoy it and appreciate it far much more if, rather than it being given to you, right, if you had to work and to save up in order to earn that money to pay for that chair. Okay? So that is the stage number 2. But there is a further stage, right? And that is that you don't just work to earn the money to be able to afford to buy that chair. But imagine if you decided that, you know what, at the weekends, I'm actually going to make myself my own chair. You're going to shear the sheep so that you've got the wool. You're going to take all the hides so you can, and you're going to tan them. You're going to stitch it all together. You're going to cut the wood down. You're going to, the whole thing. And you spend weeks and months making that chair. Now, when you sit in that chair, right, are you going to enjoy it the same way you did in scenario 1 or 2? The answer is, of course not. You're going to enjoy it far much more. Why? Because that chair is you. You've invested so much of yourself in it. So what we are saying is that is really the way that the Almighty wants us, in a sense, to serve him in this world. That we invest ourselves totally in serving him. As a consequence of that, right, we have a close relationship with him. We transcend our physical being so that we become more spiritual, and therefore we have a greater appreciation of the relationship that we have or can have with him, right? So it's not a matter of getting reward. The consequence of the life that we choose and the way that we serve God is that we will be rewarded, because serving God is a relationship. And in any relationship, right, we don't do things for our other half, right, or our children. We don't do it in order to receive a reward or to receive payback. But we know that for it to be a real relationship, there has to be that give and take in a relationship. If it's all one-way traffic, if you're giving constantly in that relationship, then it's not a relationship, right? There has to be, both parties are giving reciprocally to each other, and as a consequence of that deepens the relationship, the love, and fosters a strong bond between the various parties, right? So therefore it is with the Almighty. We don't serve God in order to receive reward, but, and here is what seems a contradiction in terms, we know, being a relationship, the same way that we give, that God Almighty in his kindness gives back to us, in that he will reward us. What is that reward? That as a result of reforming or transforming our physical being, refining ourselves to become more spiritual beings, therefore he will allow us to bask in the divine presence. So we are really creating in this world, not in the next world, our world to come, through the way that we live our lives. And therefore we serve God because the same way that we give in any relationship, because we want to, because we love the other, because we want to have a close bond and relationship. And having done that, then we are creating that bond. As a consequence, therefore, we are able to enjoy the fruits of our labor, which is becoming more spiritual with a deeper appreciation of God, and therefore we'll be able to bask in his divine presence. So in reality, the transition from this world to the next for somebody who is fine-tuned into spirituality is minimal. In fact, they describe it that moving from this world to the next for a righteous person is like removing a hair from milk. It's zero effort, right? it's a smooth transition because it is something which is a natural progression. So therefore, that is the point of the Mishnah, right? You cannot go around and have any type of meaningful relationship where it is all about tit for tat, and I'm doing this in order to receive that. That is childish. That is what children do. But for us, we never measure. We constantly want to serve God because that is what he has asked of us. And as a result of that, he repays us tenfold, right? Through the blessings that he bestows on us in this world and the reward he gives us in the next world. The Mishnah finishes, and with this we'll conclude, by saying that the fear of heaven should be upon us, right? And that means that we have an awe about God, right? It's not a flippancy, but it is a feeling that we recognize to the degree that we can his greatness, right? And therefore, the greater one has an appreciation of something that is greater than oneself, the more you want to serve. So one leads to the other. The way that I serve God and the more I want to do is the more I recognize his greatness. And I remember many years ago hearing from the Prince of Swaziland. His name is Prince Nathan Gamedzi. He's, as the name suggests, converted to Judaism. And he spoke about the fact that all day long in his father's kingdom in Swaziland, all they are doing is praising him and recognizing his greatness. And he came to a realization that he wanted to praise the King of Kings. And the more he understood about Judaism, the greater appreciation that he had for it and for praising God. So it's a fascinating insight, a very important Mishnah. And therefore we have realistic expectations about what we are meant to put in and what we are meant to get out in terms of this relationship, which is what it's meant to be with God. Okay, so that ends this Mishnah. We now say Psalm 23. Lovely to see so many people joining us. Wish everyone well. We live in interesting times. I'm just writing about it now. Anyways, so the Psalm 23, an affirmation of our faith, and that we say at the most challenging and difficult times in the same way that King David did. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. We'll say a Refuah Shalema prayer, and we'll have a pause to allow people to insert names. And of course, we'll have in mind today not just those that are still suffering from coronavirus, but sadly so many that have been injured and been maimed by the rioting and protests across America and other places in the world. Misha Berach Avosenu Avraham Yisrael Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Hu Yivarach Rapes Achelim Va'avo Shanu Mispalim Bavuram B'Sazah Kodesh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rakim Aleihem Lachmal Lefosam Yishlach Lem Fushlim Nishmaim Lachol Avim B'Tzok Shachol Yisrael Refuah Nefesh Refuah Sakov Hashavag Lazmak Ribon Amar Amen. Memorial prayer for departed relatives. We wish long life to all those that have Yortzeit or that are saying Kaddish. El Malay Rachamim Shaykhin Ban Romim Amatzim Manachanachanach Akamfeshkin Amalay's Kadoshim Eterim Kazariki Masirim Es Nishmas Leah Bas Bible Sivia Bas Mordechai Avram Ben David Slavin Shlomo Ben Yisrael Morris Eliezer Ben Shmuel Teret Eliezer Shalom Ben Avram Shmuel Beres Tzipora Fegel Bas Reuven Baruch Shalom Ben Eli Ali Feina Bas Faivel Bracha Bas Yaakov David Goldstein from Bas Mordechai Leib Shabbosai Ben Zvi Goldwater from Rosh Hashanah Bas Reb Yaakov Shmuel Shalchu Li Olamam Bagan Eden Tehim Menuchasam Lachem Balarachamim Yasirein Beseisa Kanapav Yolamim Veyitzrov Asachayim Sishmasam Adonai Unach Lasam Veyanuchu B'Shalom Mishkavam Nomar Amen. Long life wishes to all those that are saying Kaddish. Please God, everyone should keep safe, keep well. It's not a flippant comment. It's something that we cannot take for granted anymore. And please God, we look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow as we continue our odyssey and journey through Ethics of the Fathers and the fascinating and timeless insights that it offers. Take care, be well, have a great day.